They provocation. The blue-green planet, known as HG 379, hung in the void like a jewel, its atmosphere swirling with storms that obscured its surface from orbital view. From Commander Elena Reyes' vantage point aboard the Earth colonial vessel Pathfinder, the planet represented humanity's future, a pristine world rich in rare minerals and fertile soil, perfectly positioned for humanity's continued expansion among the stars. Preliminary scans complete, Commander Lieutenant Chen reported from his station. The helium-3 deposits are even richer than our initial surveys suggested. This single planet could fuel Earth's fusion reactors for centuries. Elena nodded, satisfaction washing over her face. After 50 years of interstellar expansion, humanity had established colonies on 17 exoplanets, but none as promising as HG 379c. The Sol Union, Earth's unified government, had named it Nova Terra, a new Earth, a fitting name for humanity's most ambitious colonial project yet. Begin preparation for landing operations, Elena ordered. I want the primary survey teams on the surface within 24 hours. As her crew acknowledged the order, Elena couldn't shake a lingering unease. The Pathfinder had detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the system during their approach. Nothing conclusive, but enough to warrant caution. The Sol Union's deep space exploration had yet to encounter intelligent alien life, but the galaxy was vast, and humanity was still a newcomer to interstellar travel. What Elena didn't know was that HG 379 already had a name, Meridian Prime, and the civilization that had claimed it was watching the humans with growing concern. 3 days after establishing the first ground base on Nova Terra, Elena was awakened by the blaring of the colony's alert system. Stumbling from her temporary quarters, she found Lieutenant Chen waiting, his face grim. Commander, we have contact. Multiple vessels have entered orbit. They're not ours. The holographic display showed 7 vessels of unfamiliar design, sleek, crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. Their technology was clearly far more advanced than anything humanity had developed. Any communication attempts? Elena asked, her mouth suddenly dry. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Commander. The translation algorithms are working on it now. The translation came through moments later, the alien voice rendered in synthetic, emotionless tones. Attention, human vessels. You have illegally entered Meridian territory and begun unauthorized resource extraction. This world is claimed by the Meridian Collective under the Galactic Charter of Territorial Rights, Section 7.3. You will cease all operations and withdraw immediately. This is your only warning. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. First contact with an alien civilization, and it was a territorial dispute. The Sol Union had no knowledge of any galactic charter. They had surveyed this system thoroughly before claiming it, finding no signs of prior occupation or technology. Open a channel, she ordered. We need to explain our position. But before any meaningful dialogue could be established, one of the Meridian vessels released what appeared to be small, dart-like objects that rapidly descended toward the colony. Incoming projectiles, Chen shouted. Elena barely had time to trigger the emergency protocols before the first impacts. They weren't explosives as she had feared, but instead deployed some kind of energy field that disabled all electronics within the colony. Within minutes, the humans were defenseless, their advanced technology rendered useless. The message was clear. The Meridian Collective wasn't interested in negotiation. When the news reached Earth 3 weeks later via an emergency courier ship, the reaction was one of shock, then outrage. The Sol Union Security Council convened an emergency session to address what they viewed as an unprovoked attack on a legitimate human settlement. This Meridian Collective claims territory without any visible presence or infrastructure, argued General Thomas Vega, head of the Sol Union Defense Force. They appeared without warning and attacked our people who were conducting peaceful exploration and settlement operations. Nevertheless, countered Ambassador Lena Okafor, We are clearly dealing with a technologically superior civilization, with an established interstellar presence. We must proceed with caution. The debate raged for days, but when reports arrived that the Meridians had forcibly removed all human personnel from Novaterra and established their own base, the Security Council's decision was unanimous. Humanity would not be bullied. The Sol Union dispatched its newly commissioned Third Fleet, 30 warships carrying the most advanced weapons Earth had developed, to reclaim Novaterra and establish humanity's right to the planet. It was the beginning of a war that would change the galaxy forever. The Meridian response was swift and devastating. When the Third Fleet arrived at HD 379C, they found not 7 ships but 70. The engagement lasted less than 6 hours. 23 human ships were destroyed, and the remaining 7 barely managed to escape, limping back to Earth with tales of technology that seemed almost magical in its capability. Admiral James Harrison, one of the few surviving senior officers, stood before the Security Council, his uniform still bearing the scorch marks from his damaged bridge. "Their weapons aren't just more powerful. They're operating on principles we don't yet understand," he reported. "They can disrupt our shield harmonics, bypass our armor, and jam our targeting systems. It's like bringing spears to a gunfight." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity was facing an existential threat from a civilization whose technology far outstripped their own. "Then we adapt," said Dr. Sophia Reeves, director of the Sol Union Advanced Research Division. "If we can't match their technology, we leverage what makes humans unique: our adaptability, our creativity under pressure, our sheer stubborn refusal to accept defeat." In the months that followed, Earth prepared for war on a scale never before seen. Every industrial facility was converted to military production. Scientists worked around the clock to develop countermeasures against Meridian technology. Colony ships were retrofitted as carriers and destroyers. Most significantly, Dr. Reeves' team made a breakthrough in neural interface technology, a system that allowed human pilots to link directly with their ships, reducing reaction times and allowing for intuitive control that no computer could match. It was humanity's one advantage, leveraging the remarkable plasticity of the human brain. Meanwhile, the Meridian Collective began a systematic campaign to remove human presence from all disputed systems. 3 minor colonies were obliterated before Earth's forces could respond. The message was clear. The Meridians considered humans to be trespassers in a galaxy they had long claimed as their own. The first true test of humanity's new approach came at the Battle of Proxima Centauri, Earth's closest stellar neighbor and home to its oldest extrasolar colony. When the Meridian fleet arrived, they expected another easy victory. What they found instead was a human defensive force unlike any they had encountered. Captain Maya Tanaka, commanding the retrofitted colony ship Defiance, was among the first to deploy with the new neural interface. As the Meridian vessels approached, she felt her consciousness expand to encompass her entire ship. Every weapon, every shield projector, every thruster became an extension of her body. "Neural sync complete," she reported, her voice eerily calm as streams of data flowed directly into her mind. "All ships, execute pattern Omega." The human fleet moved with unexpected coordination and speed, executing maneuvers that would have been impossible with traditional controls. Ships spun and weaved in formations that seemed chaotic, but were precisely calculated to maximize fire coverage while minimizing exposure. For the first time, the Meridians found themselves outmaneuvered. Their superior technology still gave them an edge, but the humans' unpredictable tactics and neural-enhanced reaction times began to even the odds. The battle raged for 3 days. Human ships were lost, but they exacted a price for every defeat. And when Captain Tanaka executed a daring maneuver, diving her ship into the heart of the Meridian formation and detonating a new type of quantum disruption device, the alien fleet's coordination collapsed. 7 Meridian vessels were destroyed, and the remainder retreated. It wasn't a decisive victory, but it was something even more important: proof that humanity could fight back effectively. As news of the Proxima Centauri defense spread throughout human space, something changed in the collective human consciousness. Fear gave way to determination. If the Meridians wanted a war, humanity would give them one they would never forget. In the command center beneath Geneva, Admiral Harrison studied the holographic display showing the latest intelligence on Meridian fleet movements. The alien forces were regrouping, clearly preparing for a larger offensive. "They still think this is about territory," he said quietly. "They don't understand what they've awakened." Dr. Reeves, working tirelessly on the next generation of neural interfaces, looked up from her simulations. "What have they awakened, Admiral?" Harrison's expression was grim but resolute. "The one thing more dangerous than human ingenuity, human vengeance. They started this war thinking we were primitive, easy to brush aside. Now they'll learn why that was their greatest mistake." The Rikhi 6 months into the war, the Meridian Collective's initial contempt for humanity had evolved into something closer to alarm. Their reports to the Grand Conclave, the governing body of their far-flung civilization, now spoke of the humans in very different terms. "They adapt with unprecedented speed," High Commander Zixtal reported, the crystalline structures that served as his sensory organs pulsing with agitation. "Each engagement teaches them. What worked against them once rarely works twice." The conclave chamber, carved from a single massive crystal deep within their homeworld, resonated with murmurs of concern from the assembled leaders. "These humans are primitive in technology but dangerously innovative," continued Zixtal. "Their neural interface systems allow for reaction times that negate much of our technological advantage. And now they've begun deploying new weapons, reverse-engineered from our own technology." Strategic Overseer Vala Moore, oldest and most respected among the conclave, rose from her crystalline daze. "Then we must escalate. The humans cannot be allowed to establish themselves as equals in this sector. The precedent would undermine millennia of Meridian order." The decision was unanimous. The Meridian Collective would intensify its campaign against humanity, committing previously held-back technologies and tactics deemed too destructive for routine use. The goal was no longer just to push humans back to their home system, but to break their will to resist. What followed became known in human history as the Season of Fire. Meridian strike forces hit human colonies with devastating new weapons, quantum disruptors that unraveled matter at the subatomic level, leaving nothing but atomic dust. Billions died as minor colonies were systematically erased. In the Sol system, Earth's defenses were stretched to their limits. The outer colonies of Mars and the Jovian moons became battlegrounds. The neural interface program expanded rapidly, with thousands of volunteers submitting to the invasive procedure despite its risks, desperate to contribute to humanity's defense. But even in this darkest hour, humanity's defining traits, adaptability, ingenuity, and an absolute refusal to surrender, began to shine through. Dr. Sophia Reeves, working with captured Meridian technology, made a startling discovery. Their systems are vulnerable to quantum entanglement disruption, she explained to a hastily assembled group of military leaders in the bunkers beneath what remained of Geneva. They use quantum communication as the backbone of their entire technological infrastructure. If we can disrupt that, we can potentially render their advanced weapons and shields inoperable. The theory was sound, but implementing it required resources Earth no longer had. That's when General Vega proposed what seemed like a suicide mission. Operation Phantom Strike. "We can't win by defending," he argued. "We need to take the fight to them. Strike at their production facilities, gather their technology. If Dr. Reeves is right, we need access to more of their systems to develop an effective countermeasure." The mission would require small, elite teams to infiltrate behind Meridian lines, targeting their supply bases and manufacturing centers. It was dangerous, perhaps suicidally so, but volunteers were not lacking. Commander Elena Reyes, who had survived the first Meridian attack and spent months fighting in the defense of Mars, was selected to lead the primary strike team. Her experience with Meridian tactics and technology made her the ideal candidate. We're looking at a 70% casualty rate, best case scenario, she told her assembled team during the briefing. Anyone who wants to back out, now's the time. Not a single person moved. Operation Phantom Strike launched with 20 specialized stealth craft, each carrying a team of neural-enhanced special forces. Using captured Meridian navigational data, they slipped through the gaps in the alien defense network, penetrating deep into territory the Meridians considered secure. Elena's team targeted a major production facility orbiting a neutron star in the Cygnus sector. The facility was supposedly impregnable, protected by energy fields powered by the star itself. But the human team had a secret weapon, a quantum tunneling device, prototype technology based on principles gleaned from recovered Meridian artifacts. Remember, Elena told her team as they prepared to breach the facility, we're not just here to destroy, we're here to learn. Every piece of tech, every data crystal, everything we can carry could be the key to saving Earth. The insertion was perfect, the Meridian defenders caught completely by surprise. As Elena's team fought their way to the central control nexus, they captured intact examples of advanced Meridian technology, weapon systems, shield generators, and most crucially, quantum communication nodes. Similar successes were reported from other teams. Not all made it back. 8 of the 20 missions ended in total loss, but those that returned brought with them treasures beyond price, the technological keys to humanity's survival. Dr. Reeves and her team worked tirelessly to integrate the captured technology with their existing understanding. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later when they successfully created a quantum dissonance field that could disrupt Meridian systems. It's not perfect, she cautioned. The effect is temporary and requires massive energy input, but it works. We've tested it on captured Meridian weapons. The first deployment of the quantum dissonance technology came during the Battle of Titan, as Meridian forces pushed into the Saturn system. When the dissonance field activated, the effect was immediate and dramatic. Meridian ships, their systems suddenly compromised, found themselves vulnerable. Their weapons misfired, shields flickered, and communication arrays went silent. In that moment of Meridian confusion, the human fleet counterattacked with everything they had. It wasn't a rout. The Meridians were too disciplined for that, but it was a decisive victory. For the first time, humanity had not just held the line but pushed back. The Meridian collective response was swift and unexpected. 3 days after the Battle of Titan, a communication arrived at Earth's defense headquarters, a request for parley. The conclave had convened an emergency session. The quantum dissonance technology represented a fundamental threat not just to their military campaigns, but to their entire technological infrastructure. If humans could disrupt quantum communications, the backbone of Meridian society was at risk. But more concerning to the conclave was the rate of human adaptation. In less than a standard solar cycle, these primitives had gone from helpless victims to genuine threats. The trajectory was clear and deeply unsettling. The meeting took place on Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon. Admiral Harrison and Dr. Reeves represented humanity, while High Commander Zixtal and Strategic Overseer Valamore spoke for the Meridian Collective. You must understand our position, Valamore began, her crystalline form shifting colors as she communicated. The Galactic Charter has regulated space for millennia. Your species emerged and immediately began claiming worlds without regard for established protocols. Protocols we were never informed of, Harrison countered. You had the power to contact us peacefully, to explain your claims. Instead, you attacked without warning. A regrettable miscalculation, admitted Zixtal. We assessed your species as technologically primitive, but numerically dangerous, if allowed to expand unchecked. The decision was made to contain the threat before it grew. And how has that worked out for you? Dr. Reeves asked, unable to contain her bitter satisfaction. The negotiations were tense, protracted, and ultimately productive. The Meridian Collective, facing the prospect of a prolonged war against an increasingly dangerous adversary, offered concessions, They would recognize human sovereignty over the Sol system and several nearby stars. In exchange, humanity would halt the development of quantum dissonance technology and agree to abide by the provisions of the Galactic Charter going forward. It wasn't everything Earth had hoped for. Nova Terra remained firmly in Meridian control, but it was enough to end the immediate existential threat to humanity. As the formal peace treaty was signed, Velamor approached Dr. Reeves privately. "Your species adapts faster than any we have encountered in our long history," she said, her colors shifting to what Reeves had learned to recognize as respectful caution. "This treaty buys peace today, but I wonder what the future holds." Reeves studied the alien being, considering her response carefully. "That depends on whether you choose to be our allies or our enemies. We didn't want this war. You brought it to us. But now you've seen what happens when humanity is threatened." Indeed, Valamor's colors darkened briefly, a lesson the collective will not forget. 3 years after the signing of the treaty, humanity had rebuilt much of what was lost. The neural interface technology, refined for peaceful applications, had revolutionized everything from medicine to space exploration. The limited access to Meridian technology granted under the treaty had accelerated human development by decades. On the newly constructed space station Unity, positioned at the formal boundary between human and Meridian space, Commander Elena Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, stood at the observation deck, watching as ships from both civilizations passed peacefully through the neutral zone. "Do you think it will last?" asked Captain Tanaka, who had served with distinction throughout the war and now commanded Unity Station. Reyes considered the question. "The peace, I hope so. But if there's one thing this war taught us, it's that humanity doesn't just survive. We adapt, we grow stronger from adversity." "They underestimated us," Tanaka said, watching a Meridian vessel gracefully navigate past the station. "Everyone does," Reyes replied with a slight smile. "At least once." In the vastness of space beyond, other civilizations had taken note of the conflict's outcome. The species dismissed as primitive had fought the mighty Meridian collective to a standstill through sheer adaptability and determination. It changed how the galaxy viewed humanity. No longer just another emerging species, but a force to be reckoned with. And somewhere in the depths of Meridian space, Strategic Overseer Velamor reviewed the latest reports on human activity with growing concern. They were expanding again, though carefully respecting the treaty boundaries. Their technology was advancing at an unprecedented rate, and their ships now traveled in formation with Meridian vessels as equals, not subordinates. The war that was meant to contain humanity had instead announced their arrival on the galactic stage. The Meridian collective had started a conflict thinking they faced a minor nuisance. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. As humans looked to the stars with renewed confidence, their message to the galaxy was clear: underestimate us at your peril. The war you chose may be the last mistake you ever make.